My name is Cora Voss, and I'm 34 years old. I come from one of the most respected medical families in Brighton Hills, where being a Voss means white coats, private clinics, and generational pride stitched into every family portrait. But while my older sister Lise was being groomed for greatness, Ivy League, surgeries, charity galas, I was the girl with student loan rejection letters and 3 part-time jobs just to survive. They told me I was too emotional, not driven enough, and when I asked for help with college tuition, my father looked me dead in the eye and said, "You want to be an adult? Then figure it out like one." I never forgot that. And now, 9 years later, on the night of Elise's lavish wedding, I walked back into their perfect world, not as the forgotten daughter they tried to erase, but as the only one who knows what they did to keep it all intact. And tonight, someone is going to make sure I don't leave alive. Brighton Grand shimmered like a false promise. Crystal chandeliers, manicured hedges, champagne towers, all for a woman who used to switch the labels on my medication just for laughs. My heels clicked on the marble. 1, 2. Each step felt like a countdown. I walked in through the south entrance, flashing the invite. Embossed ivory white. Miss Cora Voss, printed neatly in calligraphy. The concierge blinked, scanned his tablet. "I'm sorry," he said, looking up. "Your name's not on the guest list." Pause. "It's a mistake," I replied, cool, steady. "I have the invite. Right here." He leaned over, peering at the card. "It looks authentic," he murmured, "but I was told to escalate if anyone brought one with this watermark." "What watermark?" He didn't answer, just nodded toward a man in a black suit by the elevator. "Strike one." The ballroom was louder than I remembered. Elise stood under a ceiling of glass roses, surrounded by men in designer tuxes, hands resting too long on her back. She always knew how to play the part, even when she broke it all. My parents were nearby, Grant and Helena Voss, standing like royalty in tailored silence. When their eyes met mine, Helena's mouth twisted. "Well," she said, loud enough for those around her to pause, "the stray dog found her way back." Gasps. A wine glass clinked hard against the floor. Grant didn't look surprised. He looked bored. "Who let her in?" Elise's smile cracked for a second, like porcelain under pressure. "I was invited," I said. "Your names are on the card." Helena stepped forward, whispering sharp, "We didn't sign that. And if you had a shred of dignity, you'd leave. Now." I wanted to say a dozen things. Instead, I turned toward the nearest exit. "You walked in here like someone who belongs," she called after me. "That's always been your biggest flaw." Outside the ballroom, I passed a server carrying a tray of macarons. He slowed as I walked by. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered, just loud enough. I stopped. "Excuse me." But he was already gone. I stepped into the powder room to steady myself. Cold water. Deep breath. In the mirror, I didn't look like the girl they threw out 9 years ago. I looked dangerous. The kind of woman who has nothing left to lose and everything to prove. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. One line. "They never planned to invite you." It was a trap. I bolted toward the hallway, back toward the ballroom. The elevator doors opened. A woman I didn't recognize stepped out, holding a clipboard. Her eyes locked onto mine. She flinched, just slightly, then turned away too quickly. Strike 2. Something wasn't right. Not just the invite. Not just my name missing. It was too clean, too deliberate. The kind of setup you don't notice until you've already stepped inside it. I reached for my phone again. Another buzz. This time a photo. Blurry, grainy, taken from above. It was me, standing in the powder room mirror. Taken less than 5 minutes ago. This wasn't an invitation, it was a setup. The photo on my screen pulsed like a warning. My face in the mirror. My dress. My eyes. Taken from above. Angle too high for a human hand. Too deliberate to be casual. I turn my phone off. Power down. No vibrations. No light. Some things you don't run from. Some things you meet head on. I walked fast, past the main hallway, through a corridor lit like a surgical theater. Cold. White. Clinical. Left turn. Service elevator. I jabbed the down button 3 times. Nothing. Someone had locked it from central control. Second exit. Back stairwell. Smelled like chlorine and floral perfume. Too sweet, too synthetic. Behind me, footsteps. Light. Deliberate. I spun. Empty. Breathe. My hand found the switchblade in my purse. Small. Legal. Taught myself to carry it when I moved into that rat-infested studio 9 years ago. One rule. Never depend on people who called you a burden. The stairs creaked behind me. This time I didn't turn. I ran. I ducked into the staff lounge on floor 3. Fluorescent lights flickered above vending machines with half-dead snacks. A microwave blinked 111. Laptop open. Signal active. I logged into the backup email, the one no one in my family knew existed. Message from Aurora Keene. Subject line blank. Attachment, 1 PDF. No body text. I clicked. A medical report. Redacted. Patient, male, 61. Admitted October 3rd. Procedure. Elective cardiac surgery. Surgeon. Elise Voss. Outcome, code blue. Cardiac arrest. Time of death, 1904. But the kicker? Date of submission, October 5th. 2 days later. Filed late. Signed. Not by Elise. By Gideon. Her husband. And mine once in another life before they stole him too. Flash memory. Him in my college dorm saying, "You don't need their money. You've got me." Then 1 week later he ghosted. No calls. No closure. 3 months after that he was engaged to Elise. The Vosses always knew how to clean their mess, even if it meant turning blood into leverage. I hit print. 1 copy. Just in case. As the paper slid out, I noticed the corner of a sealed envelope tucked behind the monitor. Unmarked. Inside a USB. Labeled in red marker. Room 917. The number wasn't listed on the hotel directory. I'd memorized it earlier while pretending to browse the guest floor maps. 917 didn't exist, which meant it definitely did. I stepped out into the hallway. No one, but the lights above me dimmed, one by one. An intentional dim, not a flicker. "Don't panic," I whispered. "Never let fear be louder than logic." My voice didn't tremble. Yet, I called Aurora. It rang once. Disconnected. Again. Voicemail. "Something's wrong," I whispered. "This isn't just family drama. This is medical fraud. Possible cover-up. Possible homicide. If I go silent, check room 917. I think the files are there." I didn't say goodbye. Just in case. A man brushed past me in the hallway. Tall. Hotel blazer. Earpiece. "Excuse me," I said. He didn't look back, but his hand dropped something near the water cooler. A white card. I waited 3 seconds, then picked it up. Hotel master access key. No note. No name. Just this quote, printed faintly on the back. "The price of silence is always paid in blood." I started running. 7th floor. 8th. 9th. Elevator useless. Stairs tighter. Air thinner. 917 was at the end of the hall. Dead end. No exit. The kind of place they design when they don't want you to walk back out. I slid the key into the lock. It clicked. Lights on. Room 917 looked like it hadn't been touched in years. Plastic still on the furniture. Dust but no decay. On the table, a file box. Inside, documents, printed emails, medical records, all tied to Brighton Hills General. Dozens of patient names. Dozens of overwritten surgical notes. Code names. Altered doses. One memo read, "AMC reporting suspended. Filing delayed per Dr. Voss request. Mandatory logs to be edited. Post-discharge. The kind of file that gets people disbarred. Or buried. I started snapping photos. Click, 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 until I saw one form with my name on it. Cora Voss, denied admission, diagnosis. NO-incompliant, emotionally volatile. That wasn't a medical file. That was a pretext. They'd flagged me. As a threat. The lights cut out. My phone blinked red, low battery. Then the sound. Footsteps. Not behind me. Inside the room. You're being watched. They're closer than you think. If I want the truth, I have to survive tonight. I didn't scream. I turned fast. Blade ready. But the man in the room wasn't masked. Wasn't armed. He stepped into the glow of the emergency light, hands raised. Cora. My breath caught. Gideon. My sister's husband. My former almost everything. Same jawline. Same voice. Different eyes. What are you doing here? I hissed. He glanced at the files on the bed. The open folders. The screen still flickering. You shouldn't have found this. Wrong answer. Tell me this isn't what it looks like. Silence. That was answer enough. I backed toward the door. But he moved fast. Hand to the lock. Slam. We need to talk, he said. No, we really don't. You think you know what they're hiding, he asked. You don't. My voice cracked. I know what you signed. That cardiac report. Elise didn't file it. You did. He looked down, then met my eyes again. I signed it to protect her. Cut. Or to protect yourself? He didn't flinch. You're in deeper than you know, Cora. This isn't just about Elise or your parents. I laughed sharp. That's what people always say when they're caught. No, he stepped closer. It's about what you were supposed to forget. Pause. That line pulled something loose. What are you talking about? Room 305. 9 years ago. The night you left. Flash. A memory. Blurred. White walls. Medical charts. Blood on someone's sleeve. You weren't supposed to remember, he said. And just like that I did. Not everything. But enough. I was in the clinic. Late. After hours. I wasn't supposed to be there. I saw someone wheeling out a gurney. Covered. Too quiet. They said it was a transfer. It wasn't. They lied. And I never pushed. Because I needed to escape. And they counted on that. You saw it, Gideon said softly. And you buried it. What did I see? I don't know. But they think you do. Another beat. My heart in my throat. And if I do, I whispered, then you're already a threat. Cut. Silence. Then footsteps. Outside. He looked toward the door. They'll check this room soon. Who? He didn't answer. He tossed me something. A key. Storage hall. Lower level. Box labeled Valley Medical, 2012. It has the transfer logs. The real ones. He reached for the lock. And Cora! I paused. If I'd stayed with you, they would have ruined both of us. I opened the door. Outside, the hall was dark. Too quiet. I didn't run. I moved. Sharp. Fast. Back stairwell. No elevators. 10th to 2nd in under 2 minutes. Knees shaking. I found the hallway. The storage room. No lock. Just a keypad. The code came to me before I could think why. My birthday. The door opened. Inside, rows of metal shelves. Dust. Silence. And there on the middle shelf, a box. Faded print. Valley Medical, 2012. I opened it. Inside, files. Yellowed. Unmarked. Then a photo. A man. Elderly. Oxygen tubes. Heart monitor. And a signature form. DNR. Do not resuscitate. The patient had a DNR on file, but the medical chart was altered. Logged as a full code attempt. Final status, death by cardiac shock. Surgeon listed, Dr. Grant Voss. My father. I stumbled back. Pages fell. Underneath, another sheet. A consent form. For procedure. Signed by me? No. It was my name. But the signature wasn't mine. Cut. My stomach turned. A forged signature. On a legal medical document. Used in a cover-up. Used to make me complicit. You can't outrun what's written in ink, I whispered. I turned to leave. And froze. A figure stood at the door. Tall. Hair pulled back. Face unreadable. Elise. You're digging in the wrong grave, sister. Room 917 was never listed on the hotel map. The light caught her face just right. Soft makeup, perfect hair. Blood in the whites of her eyes. Elise didn't blink. Neither did I. You forged my signature, I said. She looked down at the box. At the papers. Daddy said you'd find that, she murmured. Eventually. You let him list me as a witness in a death cover-up. She walked forward, step by step, heels like knives against the tile. They told me you'd never come back. They were wrong. She reached for the file, fingers brushing the corner of the photo. That patient had no family. He was already dying. You falsified a DNR. Don't act like you care now. Cut. Flash. The storage room flooded with cold fluorescent light. Too bright. Too sudden. 2 security guards stood behind her. Hotel staff. But not hotel eyes. Corporate eyes. Hired silence. Elise looked back at them. She's leaving now. One guard stepped in. Ma'am, you'll have to come with us. Under what grounds? Security breach. Data tampering. I laughed. You mean exposing fraud? The second guard's hand twitched toward his belt. Not a gun, but something heavy. You gonna drag me out? I said, right after you helped them fake a man's death? They didn't flinch, because they'd done this before. Cut. I grabbed the folder, shoved it into my coat. Spun. Ran. Felt them lunge behind me. I ducked, left into the linen hallway. Slammed the door. Footsteps thundered. Adrenaline loud in my ears. You ever notice, I muttered to myself, the ones who say it's not personal are always the ones holding the knife. I burst into the ballroom lobby. Music still played. Laughter. Silverware clinking. I was shaking. Hair stuck to my cheek. Fingers curled tight around the file, like a trigger. And then I saw him. Grant Voss. My father. He stood by the grand piano, sipping from a crystal glass. Still and smug, like nothing was broken, like the walls weren't already cracking. He looked up, met my eyes, smiled. I stormed through the crowd, documents in hand. Is this your legacy? I said, holding the folder up. Fake DNRs? Stolen identities? Dead patients filed under your daughter's name. Whispers. Phones raised. Cameras blinking. The orchestra stopped. Grant didn't move. He just leaned close, enough for me to hear. You were always good at making noise, Cora. Noise gets attention. Silence gets blood. He handed off his glass, and then he said it. They'll never believe you. You're unstable, remember? Emotionally volatile. That's what the report said. I stepped back like he'd struck me. Not physically. Worse. Psychologically. Because I remembered those words. I remembered signing nothing. And I remembered how fast I was labeled the difficult daughter when I stopped playing along. You had me flagged, I whispered. For your own protection. No, for your protection. Then I heard her voice. From the stairwell behind me. Cora. Aurora Keene. Plain clothes. Badge clipped to her belt. Eyes wide. You need to come with me, she said. Why? She didn't answer. She just showed me her phone. The screen played a clip. A grainy hospital hallway. 2 figures. One of them was Elise. The other, Gideon. Time-stamped 2 years ago. They were arguing. He shoved her. She slapped him. But that wasn't the shock. The shock was the man they wheeled out on the gurney 2 minutes later. It was the same patient from the file. Still breathing. Still alive. Time of death, logged 3 hours later. The death was staged. 3 hours, unaccounted for. The body gone. No trace. I stared at the screen. Aurora leaned in. They killed him after the paperwork was done. Because he knew something. And now you do too. The world went quiet. The ballroom behind us erupted again, but I didn't hear it. All I heard was the thud in my chest. And the line Gideon once told me, before he vanished from my life. The only thing worse than being wrongfully accused is being right too early. You're not leaving this hotel, Cora. There was no calm before the storm. Only the brief moment when you realize the lightning is about to strike. Aurora's phone still played the grainy clip. Elise and Gideon, shoving in a sterile hallway, wheels of a gurney squeaking like an omen. I watched it in the service corridor, far from the ballroom's laughter and clinking glasses. The most dangerous lies are the ones wrapped in truth. I repeated it silently because that's what this was turning into. Truth. A guard pushed past us. No badge. No hesitation. Just a body built for intimidation. Voss' daughter, step aside. Aurora turned. I'm federal, she snapped. He didn't care. Hands went to cuffs. Scene cut. Door slammed. I grabbed Aurora's arm. Wait, if Gideon was involved, why protect Elise? Why file that report? You said it was to shield her. Aurora's eyes narrowed. Because they wanted a scapegoat. And Elise was right there. Right there. The elevator dinged. Doors opened like a trap. One beat of silence. Then 3 officers stepped out. Federal. Not local. Not civilian. They blocked the hall. We're escorting you, one said. Like I'm the criminal. I asked. His face didn't move. Federal custody. Cut. Outside, lights flashed. Red. Blue. Ambiguous justice. I was cuffed. Behind me, Helena Voss appeared. High heels. Perfect dress. Cora, she said, voice smooth like poison. You've made a mistake. This records breach. Records breach. Not murder. Not cover-up. Records breach. You're exaggerating, she continued. They don't understand, she mouthed to the officers. She's unstable. I saw the exchange in her eyes. The flicker when someone believes their own lie. You really think, I said to her, that labeling me unstable hides the blood on your hands? She didn't answer. Her eyes slid away. Cut scene. The back of a black SUV. Cold leather seats. Federal agents quiet. No one spoke. Just the hum of the engine. I leaned back. My wrist still hot from the cuffs. Then my phone buzzed one message. From Gideon. 3 words. Meet me. Basement. Now. I blinked. 1, 2, 3. I didn't know whether to trust him. Because every time someone said, trust me in this family, someone ended up dead or erased. But the message wasn't from a number I recognized, which made it more dangerous. Cut. Basement door. Cold concrete scent. Flickering bulb. Gideon leaned against the wall. Arms crossed. Face pale in the grainy light. You shouldn't have seen that hospital footage, he said. Too late, I replied. He didn't flinch. Look, he whispered, we don't have much time. I raised an eyebrow. Save the monologue. Why are you here? He stepped forward. Because they don't just protect their own. They annihilate threats. Cold. Fact. Yes, I said. But you helped them. Gideon didn't look away. I had no choice. That moment hit like a gut punch. Sometimes the person who saved your life is the same one who buried pieces of it. I swallowed. You chose. I chose survival. Did you choose lying to me? He flinched. Just once. Not enough to be called guilt, but enough to be real. Sudden noise. Metal clang. Someone approaching. Fast. Too fast. We both turned. A shadow flickered at the entrance. Well, isn't this cozy? Elise. Her voice cut through the dust-thick air. High heels echoed. She smiled cold. Don't play innocent, Gideon. He didn't respond. She lifted one folder, thick. Look at this. Thrown onto the floor. Several documents fell out. Contracts. Emails. A series of hospital audits. Reports marked mandatory, never filed, never processed. AMC protocol, she said. Annual mandatory compliance reports. Never submitted. I squinted. This is a crime. Federal. Yes, she said, but not the crime you think. My heart thudded. You want to pin this on me? On Cora? On anyone but us? Wrong, Gideon said. You've been running simulations on how to contain this. You scripted narrative after narrative. Her smile didn't waver. We're rescuing a legacy. I laughed. Low. Bitter. A legacy built on bodies. The bulb overhead blinked once, then went out. Dark. Total. I couldn't see, but I heard it. Metal scraping. Slow. Purposeful. And a voice no longer controlled. Power outages are usually followed by bad news, I whispered. To steady myself, I repeated the line I used to tell myself when fear tried to swallow me. The price of silence is always paid in blood. Then the footsteps came closer, slow, thudding, intent on finding us. And I realized in the darkness, we weren't alone. The lights came back on all at once. Harsh, white, unforgiving. Federal agents flooded the basement like a breaking wave. Guns up, voices sharp, orders overlapping. Hands where I can see them. Elise froze. Gideon didn't move. My parents, Grant and Helena, stood shoulder to shoulder, faces carved from stone, as if this were just another inconvenient meeting they expected to dominate. I stepped back, heart hammering. This was the moment people think comes with relief. It doesn't. It comes with clarity. Aurora's voice cut through the noise. Calm. Controlled. We have probable cause. Medical fraud. Conspiracy. Evidence tampering. Obstruction. She nodded to an agent. He took the box from my hands, the one with my forged signature, the altered DNR, the lie that almost buried me alive. Grant finally spoke. This is a misunderstanding. I laughed. Short. Sharp. A misunderstanding doesn't require fake deaths and stolen identities. Helena turned to me, eyes glassy. We did everything for this family. No, I said. You did everything for yourselves. Cut. Handcuffs snapped closed. Metal on skin. The sound echoed louder than the sirens above. Gideon looked at me once as they pulled him away. Not pleading. Not angry. Just tired. Survival isn't the same as living, I said quietly. You should have learned that before it cost you everything. He didn't answer. Upstairs, the ballroom had become a different kind of theater. Guests whispered. Phones raised. Someone cried. The wedding cake stood untouched, frosting perfect and meaningless. Aurora guided me through the crowd, agents flanking us. My parents were let out behind, cameras flashing, their legacy collapsing frame by frame. Outside, rain fell hard, cold, clean. I tilted my face up, let it soak my skin. For years, I believed walking away was enough. That distance could protect me. That silence was survival. I was wrong. Silence is how rot spreads. The press gathered fast. Microphones thrust forward. Questions fired. Did you know? How long has this been happening? Are you pressing charges? I didn't answer. Not yet. Hours later, I sat alone in a quiet room at the station. Statement signed. Evidence logged. Chain of custody sealed. Legal. Real. Aurora slid a cup of coffee toward me. You okay? I thought about it. About the girl who packed a single suitcase at 25. About the loans. The nights I slept in my office. About the words figure it out, like an adult echoing every time I failed. I figured it out, I said. Just not the way they expected. She smiled, small and tired. You did more than that. Dawn crept in through a narrow window. I watched the light change inch by inch. There's a saying I once heard, something about truth being heavy, about how carrying it alone breaks people, but sharing it breaks chains. I finally understood it. Weeks later, the headlines stopped screaming and started explaining. Indictments, plea deals, hospital audits reopened, licenses suspended, careers erased. My parents refused interviews. Their attorneys spoke for them now. Elise took a deal, testified. Her voice cracked on the stand. Gideon didn't. That was his last choice. I went back to my apartment, the one I paid for myself, the walls I built my life inside. I opened the window, let the city breathe with me. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger is a fire. It burns fast, then it's gone. What remained was something steadier. Resolve. You don't owe loyalty to people who mistake control for love. On my desk sat the acceptance letter I never showed anyone, the one I earned years ago, after everything. I framed it, not for what it gave me, but for what it reminded me of. That being told no doesn't mean you're unworthy. Sometimes it just means you're dangerous to the wrong people. That night, I slept without checking the door twice. No shadows moved. No footsteps followed. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't being watched. And I realized something simple, something that felt like freedom. They tried to erase me, but I rewrote the story.